Hello, everyone. Bonjour and welcome. My name is Paul Keefe, Business Advisor here at the World Trade Center, Winnipeg. I would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that this webinar is coming to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of Anishinaabe, Cree, OJ Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Thank you for joining our webinar, Do More with More, exploring the full value of Microsoft 365 Business Premium, which will be presented by Ryan Bialek. Before we begin, I want to share a few housekeeping items. First, please send all of your webinar questions directly to the chat box at the top of your screen, and Ryan or Kyle will try to answer as many as they can during the session or towards the end of the session. For all logistical questions, please send them directly to the chat box, and I'll answer questions as soon as possible. And lastly, you'll also receive a PDF copy and recording of this presentation within the next week. And now it's time to start our webinar. I would like to introduce you to Ryan Bialek. For most of his life, Ryan has been enthusiastic about technology, but he never thought he would build a career from his love of computers. Today, Ryan is a recognized advocate for the Microsoft Cloud, using his passion to help organizations digitally transform. Ryan has spent the last 4 years at Clear Concepts, leading a modern workplace practice that has assisted hundreds of organizations realize the full potential of Microsoft 365. And welcome, Ryan. The floor is all yours.
Right on. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you so much to the World Trade Center Winnipeg team, and thanks everyone for spending some time. It's smack dab in the middle of the day. It's lunchtime, so if you're chowing down, if you're following along with your lunch, hey, it's a great time to learn something. So back again, 2 weeks in a row. If you were here last week for our Do More with Less presentation, which was about automation and AI. We're going to flip the script a little bit today. And again, the title's a little bit funny on this particular webinar, Do More with More. And really the value here is really exploring Business Premium and maybe some pieces of the subscription that you don't know about. Maybe it's something that will make you interested in upgrading to Microsoft 365 Business Premium, or again, just get a little bit more bang for your buck. So got a pretty full session. I'm going to say about 50 to 55 minutes of content. As Paul mentioned, my colleague Kyle is in the chat behind the scenes if you have any questions as we go through. But we should also have some time at the end for those great questions. So just some background on Clear Concepts in case you're not familiar. We are an all-inclusive managed IT provider right here in Winnipeg. Team is approaching 60 technical professionals sort of across all departments here. We are, as Paul mentioned, focused on the Microsoft stack of technologies. And of course, we're very proud and humbled by our award-winning Microsoft 365 practice. Because AI is the buzz du jour, also want to throw in that we've been experimenting and working on some AI projects for the last few years as well. And despite being here in Winnipeg, we do serve those organizations outside of the perimeter and, of course, all over North America. And as Paul mentioned, my title or my focus here has been around modern work. And just to sort of set the stage for today's session, I just want to be clear about how we articulate modern work and what that modern workplace really is. And some aspects to that are obviously secure hybrid work. We know that that is not going anywhere. A lot of lessons were learned during COVID and the pandemic era around hybrid work and keeping that secure. We also talk a lot about integrating in the cloud and sort of consolidating on the cloud. If it's the Microsoft cloud, perfect. If other clouds, no problem. And that really will be part of the theme today as we talk about consolidation in Business Premium. We know that the modern workplace encourages and keeps employees accountable and engaged in the company mission, continuous learning and learning new things like products and apps and tools that change all the time is core to our understanding. Being accessible, again, not just from here or the coffee shop or from your office at home, but those that have different vision, hearing, cognitive needs. Again, we want to make sure that we care for all of those that we collaborate with and that these technologies are accessible to everybody. Being data-driven, being able to have reports and dashboards from the data that your business is collecting, storing, reviewing over, again, is core to our modern work mission, as well as being automated. Again, and that was sort of the core theme of our World Trade Center Winnipeg webinar last week, which was all about automation and AI. And again, we can't go too far without talking about AI and being AI ready in the modern workplace. So we'll explore that a little bit today. And those products that just flew in from the left-hand side of the slide, again, this is our toolbox. These are our weapons of choice when it comes to building up the modern workplace and the technology that serves our users and our businesses. So today's agenda is not too crazy. Again, we're going to talk about software consolidation and adoption, collaboration and AI readiness. There'll be a good chunk of time that we spend talking about security, which is often the most overlooked part of the benefits of using Microsoft 365 Business Premium. We'll talk about getting rid of some servers, and then towards the end of the session, again, some time for your questions and answers. So let's start with software costs. I know this is a virtual event, but let's do a digital show of hands. Who wants to pay more for software? Who wants to send more money away per user per month? And that's probably nobody. In a lot of cases, in a lot of organizations we talk to, big, small, all sorts of different shapes and sizes, there's often some redundant software. And that may be a simple example, paying for Microsoft Teams, but also paying for Zoom for meetings and for calling. We also know that disparate software solutions cause data silos. And if those products do not collaborate or talk to one another in an integrated way, that does cause inefficiency and time waste. The more software that we have, the more complex our IT management has to be. Managing user accounts and passwords, and again, integrations and backups and all those different things becomes a little bit more of a mess when you have your assets all spread out. Not to mention compliance challenges. Again, as I mentioned, the security challenges with many accounts. The analogy I like to use, and it's really cheeky, is it's a lot easier to fortify one castle than it is to fortify 5 or 6 different castles. So it's a lot easier from a cybersecurity perspective to really lock down your one castle. Data reentry, again, products that don't talk to each other, products that don't integrate or automate with each other, causes us to have to re-enter data. And we know that that leads to errors despite our best efforts. And legacy apps running on servers, again, maintaining old servers, server operating systems go out of date and out of support all the time. And there's a lot of extra costs that come with maintaining those legacy applications. So enter Microsoft 365 Business Premium. Again, one solution to run your business securely from anywhere. And those that know about Microsoft 365 or Office 365, if you still refer to it that way, you know that it's the Office apps that we've sort of grown up with over the last 25 years, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, and the like. It's those apps plus the cloud services that power them. For email, it's Exchange Online. If you use files or the publishing aspects of SharePoint, and of course, solutions like Teams for communication, collaboration, and potentially your phone system if you've moved your voice into Teams Phone. But what often gets overlooked with Business Premium in particular is that second row of solutions, Intune through Azure Virtual Desktop, which is that security stack, a very comprehensive security stack where, again, you may be paying for antivirus, another solution to manage mobile phones and devices. You may be paying for VPNs. Again, that's a lot of redundant software, and that is often overlooked by business owners and managers around what you get from Business Premium. And that's really what we're going to dive into in the next 50 minutes. Something else we hear quite often from business is again, that redundant software. We've gone out and we use a few features from Zoom. We have users storing files in iCloud. We use Trello or Monday.com because we saw a really funny YouTube ad about them. We have some files in Ignite. We're trying this Notion thing. Hey, Smartsheet caught our attention. And again, this is very, very common when we see organizations using all of these point solutions. And again, the strengths and weaknesses to all of these products here on screen. But many folks don't know that there are features and apps and capabilities within Microsoft 365 that can replace or help you consolidate all of these products. And again, that list of apps and services is extensive. And again, there's a lot that's changed over the last few years. There's a lot that has been added and removed over the last few years in Microsoft 365. Even the transition from Office 365 to Microsoft 365, even though Microsoft seems to love changing product names every 15 minutes, there's a lot going on under the hood of Microsoft 365. And a byproduct of that is typically poor software adoption. One statistic I found was around 38% of business software goes unused, whether that's an awareness problem, people don't know it's there, so they don't use it. It may be a training or adoption type of problem where we're just not quite sure how to use it. Even an inspirational thing, we just don't know the potential of these products, and so we don't tend to use them. So my team here at Clear Concepts was really out to sort of shatter that notion again. We help organizations take Microsoft 365 and extract as much value from it as possible. And our approach around adoption is really about changing our users, changing our end users' minds and modalities to use these softwares. And you can't just force software on people. You can't just say use Teams or else. This is more of an ongoing organic type of change that we are looking for. Modern work is still new, despite having these technologies for the last few years. And again, everything is changing so fast. Enter the AI story where everything is changing, it feels like every 10 minutes. So we know that constant learning and relearning and upskilling is required. So over here at Clear Concepts, we do instructor-led training. We do consulting quite often. We share our inspirations for how you can use these softwares in different ways. And again, we do our best to make it approachable by everybody, whether they are new to using these tools or someone that's been around the block for a while. And again, our methodology really centers around creating awareness, letting you know what you can do, helping you find some use cases for your team or your department or your whole organization. And then again, the repetition, reinforcing those changes over a sustained period. And over the last few years, this has taken shape in Microsoft Teams. And it's a great place to start if you want to get the most out of Microsoft 365. We refer to it as the organizing layer of Microsoft 365. That being Microsoft Teams. Yes, you can go and use the Office apps. You can go and use SharePoint and OneDrive and Flow and Power BI and all of the different features and apps independently. And if you don't know, you can go get that at office.com. But Teams is also a gateway or sort of a jumping off portal into all of those services as well, which is really, really interesting. Microsoft has spent a lot of time making all roads lead to Teams. So not only is that your place for chat and communications, phone calls and meetings, but again, it serves as a point to integrate to SharePoint, OneDrive files, your phone calls, flows, approvals, Power BI dashboards, and the like. And again, we're on this mission of discovering new ways to work in Teams, which is integrating with outside products, third-party products, applications that you may use, line of business. How can we bring that into the fold of Microsoft Teams? And in a way, Microsoft Teams almost becomes as important as Windows. It's like an operating system that you launch apps from. And part and parcel with that is being conscious about sending less email. Again, this is one of my favorite things to do in person or virtually is, show of hands, who wants more email? And then usually the crickets chirp and I can move on with that joke. but really real-time or asynchronous collaboration through Microsoft Teams, whether it's chat or it's happening in channels, is a really interesting way and a compelling way to send less email. And again, security is a core tenet here, where we want to keep that communication secure. We want to keep file sharing and file storage secure. We want to make sure that nothing proprietary, personally identifiable information, we want to make sure none of that is leaving our organization. And automation and AI, again, just to pull in the session from last week, doing more with less. Microsoft Teams is a great canvas for AI. It's a great canvas to enable automation through messaging, through communications, and being an endpoint to sort of receive automated messages and files and the like. And again, I wouldn't be doing this topic justice without talking about AI. And again, getting the most out of Microsoft 365 Business Premium is probably going to be the best step that you can make to prepare for the Copilot era, this new AI era that we're facing. Again, we're going to go through the security steps and benefits of Microsoft 365 in a moment, but following along is going to get you to the right place where you will be ready for this next AI wave. So there's a lot of things that you can do today, even with Microsoft 365 with your work account, like leveraging Copilot in the Edge browser, using tools like Microsoft Designer and Clipchamp. Those are all recently been added to Microsoft 365. And again, another benefit of your subscription that you're paying for. And again, the great thing here is that security mechanism, your work account. And I'm hoping that you have multi-factor authentication turned on as an additional security layer. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. And using some of these tools, some of these smaller tools like Copilots, Bing Chat Enterprise, for example, just getting comfortable with AI in these early days, despite all of this change happening so rapidly, will give you and your team, your AI partner of the future, some time to prepare your data estate, which means you'll be able to someday have your own internal or external facing copilots, a chatbot, machine learning or predictive analytic tools that you can use in your own business. And then last but not least is leveraging the files that you have in SharePoint for your internal copilots as well. And that is, again, a very, very brave new world, but it is becoming a reality. And again, being prepared with Business Premium is a great first step. So let's switch gears really quickly here and talk about cybersecurity. And this is an older statistic from last year, but still, I would say very likely accurate, that ransomware is just through the roof. Ransom attacks, I think, are growing year over year. But there's an interesting misconception, I believe, in the small business world particularly, where small business owners, they just don't feel that they're a threat. Who's going to come after my small business? And that couldn't be further from the truth. Hackers and threat actors, these bad individuals with these motives, they know that small businesses are sometimes underprotected, underfunded, and certainly lack the resources and skills to deal with a cyber attack. Another interesting fact, and let's let this one hit home, is the average cost of a data breach in the small and medium-sized business realm is over $100,000. Whether that's paying the ransom, bringing in cybersecurity specialists to get you back up and running, recovering, cleaning, being thorough about removing the threats from your environment. That's a very, very costly expense, and that can take some small businesses right off the map and have shut down. So defending against cyber threats with Microsoft 365 Business Premium, again, that latter row of solutions, let's double click and let's drill in a little bit deeper. We've got Intune, again, which is included in this package for managing devices, Microsoft Defender, which is antivirus, Azure Information Protection, which is, again, keeping that confidential proprietary information within your tenant. Azure AD, which is now Entra ID, but don't worry, I'm sure Microsoft will change the name again in 15 minutes, which is around your identity, managing how you sign into all of these different assets in the cloud. And Azure Virtual Desktop, we'll talk about in greater detail, which is a great way to get rid of those on-premise servers, which are in many cases sitting ducks when it comes to these threat actors. So defending against cyber threats from the Microsoft 365 perspective gives us the opportunity to lock down Windows and Mac, yes, securing Office 365, things like our email and file sharing, gives us the capability to turn on multi-factor authentication, and again, prevent data loss all the way through managing our devices, whether they're notebooks, desktop PCs, tablets, and mobile phones as well. Now, I know what goes through a lot of folks' mind when I mention antivirus from Microsoft. Whoa, whoa, whoa! And you do get entitlements for a product called Defender for Business. And the great thing about this is it's bundled in. It knows all of your users. It knows all of your devices. This truly is enterprise-grade antivirus. It's very, very easy to use, whether you're if you're your own IT department, or if you're working with a managed service provider like Clear Concepts, onboarding and deploying Defender for Business is straightforward, which means it saves you time and money ultimately. And again, if you're paying for Microsoft 365 Business Premium, you are getting this benefit. So there's no need to pay for Norton, Symantec, WebRoot, take your pick. There's no need to double up on security in this case. But again, Ryan, whoa, antivirus from Microsoft? Like, come on. These guys are leakier than a sieve. Common misconception, couldn't be further from the truth today. And in fact, Microsoft Defender is constantly rated at the top of the stack of antivirus applications. It's built into Windows 10 and 11. It's backed by the cloud and intelligence that Microsoft has on their own. And I know Microsoft likes to brag about it, but even as a partner, it's an interesting stack that Microsoft spends about $1 billion a year on security research. So that's a nice bunch of muscle behind your cybersecurity stance. Now, another product, again, Microsoft loves to confuse us with their product names. Another one is Defender for Office 365. And again, a very common misconception here is, this product is just spam filtering and anti-malware for our Outlook inboxes. Couldn't be further from the truth. Again, Defender for Office 365 is also sharing file share links, protecting file share links in OneDrive and SharePoint. It's keeping your documents secure, keeping files that are being shared to you or to your organization from others secure. It's also keeping things like links that you copy and paste into emails and Teams messages. It's keeping all of that secure. Again, behind the scenes, whether it's following a link to see if it points to something malicious, to see if you are being phished in a Teams message, whether that's internally or from external communicators, Defender for Office 365 is taking care of that for you. As well as you may have run into when you open traditional Office app files like Word documents, Excel workbooks, and PowerPoint slides, is they open in a non-editable format. They open in a secure format. Defender for Office 365, again, is checking those files for you for any type of embedded or hidden or otherwise malicious intent. So protection beyond email, protection beyond just basic spam filtering. Again, you get that with Business Premium. Multi-factor authentication, can't say enough about this. This is such an important cybersecurity tool. Show of hands, I was doing an in-person presentation yesterday, and I put some people on the spot. I did 2 shows of hands. I said, okay, show of hands, who has multi-factor authentication turned on at work? And 90% of the room raised their hands. And I said, okay, let's make this a little bit more exciting. Who doesn't have multi-factor authentication turned on? And there was a few people in the audience that very carefully, and maybe I embarrassed them a little bit, but I can't stress enough, multi-factor authentication is more secure than just having a password. It's far more secure than recycling the same password through all of your accounts. Use a multi-factor authentication provider. Again, here it's built into Microsoft 365 Business Premium. You can put an app on your phone. You can use biometrics. You can use Windows Hello and use your face, very much like Face ID. If your laptop or your PC has a fingerprint reader, again, there's so many different compelling ways that are far more secure than just reusing a password, or reusing a password that is so complex you write it down on a sticky note and stick it under your keyboard. And if you do that, hey, I'm on to you. This is a technology that is, for the most part, phishing resistant. When you get that notification on your phone saying someone from Estonia is trying to log into your computer or your email, again, you can block those sign-in attempts and let your IT department know. This is another technology. Again, it's such a no-brainer because it's very, very easy to implement. A little bit of change management, a few habits to build as an end user, again, to use a multi-factor, a multiple factor, but it is really simple from an IT perspective to enable and deploy this technology. And these particular features extend into Business Premium, where you can do things like conditional access. Again, if you are expecting that all of your staff stay in North America, you can block login attempts from anywhere outside North America. If you don't want anyone to access SharePoint, Teams, or their email from non-company devices, again, all of those conditions, hence conditional access, can be set up. And that's normally an additional fee, but that capability is included in Microsoft 365 Business Premium. And again, this is an example of multi-factor authentication. It doesn't need to get into the way. It doesn't need to slow down your productivity. When it's set up and it's set up right, again, maybe once or twice a day, would you have to run into this type of multi-factor challenge? Again, it could be simple as using using an app on your smartphone, fingerprint reader, Windows Hello, using your face and the like. So now that we've sort of secured your account, and again, behind the scenes, securing your email, securing file shares, and securing conversations that are happening in Microsoft Teams, let's prevent data egress. Let's prevent those sensitive pieces of data that we hold in our line of business applications, in all of these fantastic communication and collaboration tools. Let's make sure nothing leaves that we don't want to leave. And there's really two sides to this story. The first half of it is document classification and labeling, otherwise known as fingerprinting data. These may be personally identifiable pieces of information, social insurance numbers, credit card numbers, account numbers, maybe specific proprietary information, formulae, the type of things that you use within your business that are trade secret, industry secret, or company secret. There are fantastic tools within Business Premium to label those things, whether that's labeling a document. This is a very, very sensitive Word document. Do not let it leave our company, all the way up to whole folders or whole SharePoint sites or teams in Teams. Okay, nothing from this team should be leaving our tenant. That can all be set up absolutely. Now, this does extend to devices. So I've got the Windows logo here, and again, preventing data loss through USB transfer, through print, through copy and paste. Again, the sky really is the limit here when it comes to what imagination we can have about data leaving your organization. And again, we can share in so many new ways now. We can share through files, we can share through messages in Teams, and of course, we can share through email. So these all present opportunities for us to put data loss prevention policies in place, which again stops the egress of sensitive data. So here's an example of how this would be set up, again, behind the scenes by your global administrator, by your IT department or your IT vendor, is going into data loss prevention and security and compliance settings in Microsoft 365 Business Premium and saying, yeah, anytime you recognize a credit card number, you should never be emailing that. And again, we can put those policies in place. Anytime someone is trying to copy and paste a social insurance number from a Teams chat to another application, again, let's not let Windows do that. So again, we can be quite granular. There are a lot of pre-built templates here that you can use, templated policies that one can use. Some are country specific, some are industry, healthcare, and the like specific, but it's all there out of the box, ready to go for your business. And next up is managing devices and endpoints. Again, an interesting thought here and some interesting benefits that we get in Microsoft Business Premium, which is a product family called Intune. And this is all about endpoints. Whether those endpoints are company owned, like my laptop here in front of me right now, or my smartphone, which is my own. We have a bring your own device policy here at Clear Concepts. But the data that is on both of these devices, company owned and my own, that is Clear Concepts' data. So how can we manage these devices in a way that is simple enough, but also gives the peace of mind that work stuff is not going to be intertwined with pictures of my kids and my pets and what I do on the weekend. So Intune is that vector, that tool that we can use to simplify that experience. Now, whether you want to manage Intune yourselves, again, with your global administrator or your IT department, no problem. Most Microsoft partners or managed IT providers are going to have some capabilities here in this realm. Simple things like deploying apps to smartphones, deploying apps and updates to Windows and Mac devices as well, no problem. Policies, again, whether they are conditional policies or group policies that affect whole groups of users or teams or departments, pushing those policies out to devices, standardizing how we use these devices, how they look and feel, and all of the branding, all the way down to that can be controlled through Intune. And the fantastic thing here is Intune is an enterprise-grade tool. A lot of enterprises use it around the world, but Microsoft has made that a part of Microsoft 365 Business Premium so that us in the small and medium-sized business world can take advantage of this. And again, I would be remiss without mentioning there is an AI story here as well. Again, as you and your users, your teams, various departments across your organization are starting to use AI tools, which again is a potential for proprietary or sensitive data to be going into some of these AI tools unknowingly, or even with the best of intentions. Managing these devices and managing what they have access to is a compelling way to make sure nothing gets put into AI unintentionally that shouldn't be. So here's a screenshot of what an administrator would see, again, on the Intune administrative consoles. Again, I don't show this to get overly geeky or technical, but just want to show that whether these are corporate-owned devices, whether they're bring your own devices, if that's the policy that you have, whether they are Apple, iPhones, iPads, Macs, no problem. Whether they are Android devices, phones and tablets, no problem. And of course, Windows 10 and Windows 11 are going to play most beautifully with Intune as well. But we can manage all of the above with Intune. It is a really remarkable product in that way, is that it does cover, let's call 99% of the various devices out there. There's a lot of pre-built policies. There's a lot of sort of baseline security policies. And again, if you're talking with us here at Clear Concepts, that's our sort of go-to is is those best use case scenarios and those pre-built policies. If you're talking to your IT department or another managed service provider, just say, hey, what's the security baseline? And that's always a first good step to implement those baselines. And some of the more granular things we can accomplish with Intune, again, as I mentioned, deploying apps remotely. Maybe that's your company app. Maybe that's Teams and OneDrive to your smartphones. Maybe that's your line of business application, your accounting package, whatever it happens to be on PCs for your users. And most importantly, if those devices are not company owned, if it's a bring your own laptop, potentially working from home, and certainly bring your own device with smartphones is most common. Having the capability to remotely erase, wipe, delete, however you'd like to refer to it, having the capability to go into those devices and take away anything that is company owned, company specific, or company proprietary, we do have those capabilities with Intune. So for example, if somebody leaves and then maybe they have some emails, maybe they have some work files saved on their Android device, as long as that device is enrolled in Intune, it doesn't have to be fully managed. We're not taking over, nothing hostile. But as long as that device is managed in a particular way and has some policies applied, you as a business owner, leader, manager, etc., would be able to get any company data off of that device, even if it's not company owned. If that device does have data on it, do we want to make sure it's encrypted? Again, we don't know what our staff do with their phones and their devices outside of work. It's not really our business, but we can rest assured that that data can be encrypted. Again, keeping work separate from home, keeping proprietary confidential documents separate from pictures of family and fun and those types of things. All the way through to giving our users, giving our employees a self-service portal to get apps that are sanctioned by IT and by management, getting the right chat app, getting the right mobile editor, getting the right line of business application. You can have a mini app store for your own organization with approved apps and all of the licensing gotchas that come along with that. And that's really great on Mac devices. You can pull sanctioned apps from the Apple App Store. Same deal on Android. And certainly it's a little bit more of a Wild West when it comes to Windows. But again, you can have sanctioned apps and installers accessible through a self-service portal. Okay. And all of this management around devices is going to save you time, or it may save your IT provider or department time, which means it's going to save you some money. So again, if you're on the fence about business premium, or you do have business premium today and you're looking to get more juice from it, again, consider these security practices here as a way to extract a little bit more value. There's even a feature, I didn't highlight it here specifically in a slide, called Autopilot, which again lets you buy a new laptop, a new PC from your IT vendor, from vendors that are Autopilot approved. Those devices can be shipped right to your user. They don't need to stop on a bench. They don't need to stop at a desk. They don't even need to be unboxed because when your user logs in with their Microsoft 365 account, when everything is configured properly in Intune and Autopilot, everything that user needs is going to be downloaded, applied, patched, potentially removed. Maybe we take away Candy Crush and those types of things. The desktop wallpapers and screensavers and all of the power settings and all of the security settings can come along just by taking that device out of the box, plugging it in, getting it online, and signing in with your Microsoft 365 account. So huge, huge, huge time savings, convenience, and ultimately saving time saves us money. So what's on screen right now, I hope you all are having a good midday chuckle, is a very typical server room, electrical closet, and the like. I think there's a server somewhere in there, a server or two. Again, if this is what your electrical room looks like, if this is what your server closet looks like, no problem. Just like to poke a little bit of fun. But digital transformation is not necessarily happening here in this picture. What we aim for instead is getting this experience into the cloud. And that means potentially saying goodbye to your servers. With our email in the cloud, with our communication, collaboration, productivity happening in the cloud in Microsoft 365. Again, potentially moving your phone system into something like Teams Phone, getting rid of a server or a really loud device in your electrical closet that does your telecoms. We're typically left with these servers that either bridge printers for us or they host some legacy applications. Could be an Access database, could be our CRM, could even be our accounting packages or ERP packages. And so, sort of the byproduct of that is we have all of these complicated and often convoluted VPN or remote desktop policies and procedures, jumping through a whole bunch of hoops if you want to work from home, but still access assets or applications, say like QuickBooks, that are on the server at work. So we're getting rid of our servers. Again, we've got a lot of potential to move these types of workloads into online subscription-based, truly cloud-based offerings, but that doesn't always hold. So what we have inside of Microsoft 365 Business Premium, again, one of those often overlooked gems is licensing for something called Azure Virtual Desktop. We get rid of the VPN, we get rid of remote desktop, but we still serve applications in a very, very similar way, all secured by our Microsoft 365 account and our identity, all behind conditional access and all of those Intune policies, as I mentioned. But Azure Virtual Desktop is just that. It's a virtual desktop, a virtual copy of Windows, or just a virtualized copy of your application running in someone else's cloud on someone else's server. And we've been busy over the last couple of years, again, helping customers move their line of business applications, can't find a cloud-based alternative, have spent lots and lots of money customizing. Accounting and ERP is very, very typical in this space. So something we can do, again, to stay secure, get it out of that electrical closet, get it out of that server room with pipes running all through it. Getting those workloads into the cloud is relatively straightforward with Azure Virtual Desktop. The only incremental expense, just as a disclaimer, again, you don't have to pay for the license. That's included in Business Premium, but you do have to pay for some compute and some storage for those assets and applications moving to the cloud. But it is very, very cost effective, especially if your server is coming off of warranty. If you're looking to do a big upgrade of server hardware, I would say strongly consider Azure Virtual Desktop, especially if you're on Business Premium and you can take advantage of that already bundled in. So you can see, again, do more with more is the title of today's talk. And again, it's really about doing more with more Microsoft 365, taking advantage through and through of all of the features that Microsoft has put into this hero package. It's not just Word, Excel, PowerPoint. It's not just our email and SharePoint servers in the cloud. It is, again, a very rich and thorough cybersecurity tool set. It is data loss prevention and securing our data. And again, looking at how we manage devices all the way through to getting rid of our on-premise servers. So if you are interested in doing more with more, again, if you're interested in getting more thorough with your business premium experience, as I mentioned quite early in the session, this is a perfect set of building blocks to get your organization AI ready. Okay, getting to the cloud, being in the cloud natively and first is imperative. Bringing in a zero trust model, again, leveraging all of those cybersecurity tools and Business Premium is going to put you in the right place to use AI. And getting to that modern workplace, again, with your applications, line of business happening in the cloud, communication and collaboration happening in the cloud through Microsoft Teams. That's going to put you in such a perfect spot to leverage AI in the coming weeks, months, and years as it evolves. So to round things out, just before we get to Q&A, lots of time for questions and answers, is if you're interested in doing more with clear concepts, again, some solution areas that we've built around Business Premium, training, again, getting to know all of the apps, getting to know all of the different use cases, all of the potential things you can do with all of the apps and services. We've got a number of training programs built around that. If you need help sort of hunkering down on cybersecurity, absolutely, we can help you there. We can help you turn on MFA if you don't have it turned on today, creating those data loss prevention policies, deploying Intune to manage your company-owned and BYOD devices and the data that lives on them all. And again, helping you move applications, workloads, data from servers into the cloud and onto cloud infrastructure, leveraging Azure Virtual Desktop. And when we can't move those apps and experiences when they are stuck, again, we have a focus area here around modernizing those applications, potentially moving them into Power Apps or web apps or just complete brand new experiences. We've been spending a lot of time helping clients there, again, with that ultimate goal of getting rid of servers, in a closet down the hall, and then leveraging the most of Microsoft 365 Business Premium. And on that note, totally wide open for questions. And looks like Paul's joined us again. Feel free to come off of mute, folks, if you have any questions, or pop them in the chat. More than happy to go back to any slides. We've got a few spare minutes, so let's have at it.
Awesome presentation there, Ryan. Really appreciate it. Learned a lot. I'm curious to know your thoughts on, I guess, a great starting point. At the World Trade Center, Winnipeg here, we deal with a lot of small businesses just getting started, and maybe they've been established for a few months and their team's growing and they're ready to integrate like a platform like Microsoft 365. What do you do? I assume you have to take stock of what your most important processes are, operations are, and lead from that angle. But yeah, curious to know where do you go with all the tools out there?
So especially for startups and small businesses, again, that's a great thing about Microsoft 365 is if you take a look at Business Premium, it's not inexpensive. There is a cost to getting that. It is the hero package. Let's call it the Cadillac of Microsoft 365 subscriptions. So what we see is often businesses, especially startups, you have that chance to start in the cloud and not buy a server and not buy some of that more traditional IT infrastructure. So even starting with Microsoft 365 Business Basic, which is I think $6 or $7 per user per month, again, is going to be a very, very good start to get you on the right direction. And then you can work your way up to something like Business Premium. For the most part, all of the features that I talked about that are in Business Premium, bundled in, can be sort of stripped off and licensed and implemented individually. So if you are ready to apply those security baselines, but you're just starting out, again, you don't need to rush to the Cadillac choice. You can sort of implement those pieces one step at a time.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic to know. I know when there's lots of tools out there, it can be overwhelming. And then, after, say, attending a webinar like this, it might be like, that thing's got to be so expensive. But knowing that you can kind of shrink and scale depending on what you're at with the tools you need. Yeah, so as Ryan mentioned, everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or, come off mute. You could use the raise hand feature if you like, so we're not all jumping in together. So we'll wait for those to come through. Another question that kind of came to mind was, you mentioned you're doing that in-person presentation and you ask, how many people have the two-factor authentication? Why don't people use that? Like, is there like a barrier or perception around, these added security steps?
I think it boils down to we are human. Some humans love change and sort of embrace change. It is a habit change. Again, it's not meant to It's not meant to be a speed bump or a pothole in your day. Certainly, IT departments are not putting it in place to make anybody's day less convenient. But that minor inconvenience of, swiping up on your watch to approve a login, checking your phone, maybe getting a call or a text message with a one-time password. Yes, it takes a few seconds or a minute or so to do that. But that minor inconvenience is worth it when it comes to the defense, really, that you're putting up there. If anybody gets your password, if anybody gets a hold of your credentials to log in to your account from anywhere that does not make sense or is not you, if they cannot prove they are you with that second factor, with that multiple factor, they're not going to get anywhere, and that's huge when it comes to that cybersecurity defense. So small pain, but the benefit, the peace of mind of having that in place, not just for Microsoft stuff, but any other cloud applications that you use. Even in your personal life. This is my tip to everyone is, Gmail and your ISP and your bank. I hope you have multi-factor authentication turned on. It's just such an important peace of mind.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully those people that you kind of called out upon, they weren't too upset and they went and got that set up right away.
I wasn't
Another
doing it.
question.
I wasn't doing it to be mean. I just wanted to get them to think proactive. Absolutely.
Yeah. What would you say, I guess, some of the common mistakes that business owners make when it comes to this, living in the, do they don't adapt quickly enough, or they're not aware of the different, programs, tools out there, or what would you say what are the mistakes and what could they do to overcome those?
Let's pick on cybersecurity again. We hear quite often after an attack happens or after a ransomware hits or crypto or something like that hits a business, and it's always, oh, I didn't think it could happen to us. The reality is it happens to businesses of all different shapes and sizes, large enterprise and small mom and pop shops. It can happen to anyone. It even happens in the nonprofit space, which is, as sad as that is, a lot of nonprofits get hacked and taken over. So that idea of, oh, it can't happen to us is such a big misconception, and unfortunately, a lot of folks fall for that. As well, I think having an issue, having a problem, or having an opportunity in front of your business, an opportunity to change or grow, maybe open another location. And I think what happens is that pressure to grow and do more with less, again, turns into one of the slides I had towards the beginning of the session, where now we've got 25 different apps, and we signed up to them because the price was right or free or close to, and now we've got 25 different accounts, 25 different passwords, 25 different things that may or may not talk to each other. So again, work with your IT, work with your IT vendor, or spend some time yourself to get to know what's in Microsoft 365, so that can be your go-to. Your first thought is, as these new challenges or opportunities arise, what can I do with this first? And when the answer is not quite there, again, then maybe you can look at another solution.
Awesome. Well, that's a great tip. And looks like we got a comment in the chat here from Vivian. So keeping up with changes made to by Microsoft can be a full-time job, e.g. products being combined, changing names, deprecating, etc. In order to stay on top of things and avoid surprises and not waste time, what is the best source of information for non-tech folks in small organizations?
I'll send you one place, Vivian. Great question. Bookmark this one if you want to. It's support.office.com. I think there's a couple of different ways to get there. But all of the key Microsoft products, apps, solutions, call them what you'd like to, across 365, there should be in a row at the top, as well as a text box for you to search through things like Planner or To Do or Loop, all of these different things. Support.office.com is a great place to go. And I think once you get into all of the different sort of app product areas specifically, you can follow along. Microsoft blogs are, I would say, very decent for mere mortals, not too techy. There's sort of different channels for that. I would say pay attention to Teams, Microsoft Teams news first. Again, that being that main one or that organizing layer that we can pay a little bit more attention to. And what you'll start to see is news from other applications or other solutions sort of trickle into the news feed on how they impact Teams. So yes, there's a lot of Microsoft news to keep on top of. It's like drinking from a fire hose. I would say support.office.com if you're in that moment, or just follow the news cycle around Microsoft Teams as sort of if I had to pick one.
Good stuff. Got another comment here from Elise or Ellis. Hope I'm saying that right. I apologize if not. What immediate steps should someone take if they discover that their email has been leaked on the dark web?
Change your password and make sure you've got multi-factor authentication turned on. Again, if your email address is out there, and you're probably going to get added to a whole bunch of different spam lists. I've had that happen to me a couple of times in life. Getting a new email address is such a pain in the butt, but properly configuring your account so that it can't get taken over, and then building up that perimeter with something like Defender for 365, anti-spam and anti-malware protection on your email is going to be really, really important. Can I ever say you'd get back to zero or perfect? I mean, once an email address is out there, it's really hard to undo that. But really, building a perimeter to avoid your account being taken over is going to be job one in that case.
Okay, good stuff. So it looks like we're coming up to the end of the webinar and lunch hour here. So before we sign off, I'm just going to share in the chat a few of our upcoming webinars and sessions. There's 3 of them. So next week, we've got a great one presented by Ben Dewick, Collective Intelligence, the Power of Collaboration. In the new year, we've got Employer Advisor Office and Overview. Those are always great sessions to attend. And then our live in-person event, WTC Talks, will be at Kilter Brewing on January 17th. So really encourage you to come out, shake our hands. It's an in-person. I know it's a digital age now, but it's nice to have those in-person events. And just before we sign off, I thought, Ryan, it'd be nice to know, for those that didn't attend the last session, is there any carryover maybe that you might want to share how both kind of sessions integrate with each other and maybe some next steps that they can take moving forward?
Right on. So from this session, again, let's get the most value, the most bang for our buck from our Microsoft 365 account. If you haven't had a chance yet to play with a tool called Bing Chat Enterprise or Copilot, again, Microsoft's changing the name every few minutes on that one, is just check out copilot.microsoft.com. You can do it in your browser. If you have Edge and you use the Edge browser, it's that little blue looking icon in the top right corner of your browser. But what that allows you to do is sign in with your work account, with your Microsoft 365 account. And that's going to keep any conversations, any of the content that you're sending to the Copilot to summarize for you, any websites, PDFs, anything that you have the Copilot tool generate for you, that generative AI side of the toolbox, that's all staying private. That's all staying within your tenant. So again, if you do want to ask business-specific questions, if you do want to have it go to work on some business data, it's not training a large language model. It's not, nobody at Microsoft has eyes-on access to it. That's your way of securing your AI Copilot experience with, again, the value of your Microsoft 365 account.
Okay, fantastic. No, that's a great way to sign things off and end. So that's all we have for today, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And as always, don't hesitate to contact World Trade Center Winnipeg if you have any questions about your business. And Ryan's contact information is up there too. So looking forward to reaching out to you. And yeah, we'll be in touch. Thanks, Ryan. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day.